Pinkie Pie Tries Vegetables by DCN. Pinkie Pie eyed suspiciously the plate of strange foliage Twilight had placed in front of her. "What do you call this stuff again?" "Vegetables," Twilight replied. "You need to eat something besides cupcakes all day, Pinkie. It's unhealthy. So there's no frosting in this at all." Pinkie looked up from the plate, puzzled. "None. It's a salad," Twilight stated. Still confused, Pinkie Pie poked at a leaf with her hoof. "There's no sugar?" "Only natural sugars." "Oh, goody sugar," squealed Pinkie Pie, reassured. "No," said Twilight, becoming increasingly impatient. "Naturally occurring sugars. Not the kind that you're used to." Pinkie Pie stared hard at the plate of leaves as if trying to bore a hole in it with her mind. Twilight rolled her eyes. "Remember when you had that apple once?" "Oh, yeah, it was juicy," Pinkie Pie exclaimed after a small hop. "Well, this is the same thing, kinda. That was a fruit, this is a vegetable," said Twilight, holding up a carrot. "I've seen those things before," Pinkie Pie exclaimed. "That's right," said Twilight. "Both fruits and vegetables have lots of nutrients that every pony needs to grow strong and healthy." Twilight smiled to herself, pleased. Pinkie Pie was catching on. Soon they would go over the food pyramid, cooking light and even eating sweets in moderation. This was the start of a new day for Pinkie Pie, Twilight thought. "Can I add frosting to it?" asked Pinkie Pie. "No, Pinkie, you can't add frosting to it," Twilight replied, deflated. "Chocolate chips?" "No." "What about sprinkles?" "No." "Cupcakes?" "No." Twilight put her hoof down. This was getting to be more trouble than it was worth.
The Royal Wedding by U.C. The royal wedding, hundreds of guests sat in rows and rows in the ancient hall, wearing their finest clothes, but one pony stood striking a pose as the princesses arrived, dressed from flank to nose. Celestia led her sister up the aisle, looking regal, walking with style. On her face she wore a sunny smile because her sister had found happiness. It had taken a while. Luna was an incredible sight, simply divine in her dress of white, contrasting perfectly with her coat of night, although it would have made for an impractical flight. But all the guests could do naught but stare at the groom who had been her own best mare. The great and powerful Trixie awaited a bride so fair that even she made an effort to look debonair. Trixie had used the best plan she could devise to keep the princess firmly under her guise, and no pony had taken the time to realize that there was no sparkle behind Luna's eyes. The band started playing, the choir got their cue, the voice of 3 young fillies suddenly grew, competing with the sound of the trumpets that blew, trying their best to completely outdo. Enthusiasm, those girls certainly did not lack. They got even louder. Having found the knack, the guests felt their ears had come under attack, and Luna's engagement ring began to crack. Noticing the jewel, Trixie grew scared. That spell had worked better than she ever dared, but as it fell apart, its magic flared. Perhaps if she fled now, she would be spared. As her mind became free of its encroaching gloom, Luna rounded upon her cowering groom. Her eyes blazed with an indignant doom, and her voice rang out with a cracking boom. "Oh, you are so banished to the moon!"
The Object by Bjornfot. Twilight Sparkle was busy reading in her library as she heard a light knocking sound. She closed her book and began trotting towards the door, now opening it with her magic as she prepared to greet her unexpected guest. "Hello, Twilight," the shy yellow Pegasus managed to blurt out, stammering. A blue blur leaving a rainbow trail behind flew in through the door and landed on the opposite side of the room. "So I was helping Fluttershy look for one of her chickens that had ran off into the Everfree forest when we found this really strange thingy. It's most certainly magical. We thought you maybe would like to have a look at it. I've never seen anything like it before," Rainbow Dash said with great enthusiasm. "Great, we can bring it here to my library so I can study it," Twilight responded. "Well, in that case we might need some help. It's really big and probably heavy too." After gathering Applejack and Rarity to help with pulling and magical levitating respectively, they soon sat on the floor of the treehouse. It was a peculiar thing indeed. Perfectly cube-shaped, 3 feet tall, made out of a hard, shining material. Flashing lights, odd-looking buttons and levers, and bright displays with strange symbols decorating it. A faint beep could be heard every second or so. "Hey, what's that? What does the red button do?" said a bouncing pink pony that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. "Pinky, don't touch any." Twilight's words were too late, as the giggling filly already had begun to press random buttons. The others watched in horror as the object started to glow and beep intensely. A loud explosion echoed through all of Equestria as Ponyville was razed to the ground. The end.